Vasquez.
Oh, you guys, it's Friday. Oh, man. Hope that you are happy, healthy, and safe wherever you are. And the kind words that so many people have lavished upon me and our moderators, my fellow moderators, Santita Jackson and Joan Esposito, I'm really grateful. But as Joan mentioned, for one thing, Santita and Joan, it was just such an honor to share the stage with them. I don't know how I'm still tired from the entire thing, and they were absolutely magnificent. And I have to say, folks were like, "You did a great job." There is absolutely no way we could have pulled any of that off without the incredible planning, the strategizing, the execution of the work from everyone yesterday. We had folks that were making sure that candidates were where they needed to be. We had a lot of communication going on about who had arrived, where they were. We made sure that everyone had some food because it was going to be a long day. And as Joan mentioned, the crafting of the questions was a team effort. So many great people involved. They made it easy to do because they did such extraordinary work. So thank you to everyone involved, and back here as well. I know Lady B holding down the fort with Terry Ryder, and it was a lot. It was a lot to manage. And again, I don't know that I'll ever be a part of something that was so extraordinary as I was yesterday. The gratitude from folks of having the opportunity to see the candidates and hear their plans, their thoughts, even their demeanor. It was remarkable. And I wondered about this too, because many of the forums, a lot of the debates tend to be later in the day. Lady B, I kind of think there's something to having it in the early afternoon that changes the dynamic a little bit too. It was incredible. So very grateful for your gratitude. So thank you, everybody. And really, my part in it was very small compared to the hard work of our engineers, everyone working the cameras, the audio. I've heard callers earlier today talking about what kind of feat everyone pulled off. So yes, I have to tell you, I dare anyone to show me a debate that was better than that, because I have not seen one. I'm just, not to pat us on the back, but it's really everybody here that I want to congratulate. And so give me a call, 773-763-9278 to join the conversation. I know yesterday we had someone at the end of the show that wanted to join the conversation, and we just didn't have time. So Roosevelt, I didn't mean to cut you off yesterday, and it was a pleasure to see you and your son. I should have taken a selfie with both of you. But it was great to see you, and there were some fireworks during the debate. Well, the forum. I know it was a forum. It did get a little. There were some shots fired over the bow and some direct attacks, and I was really. It was energized, I think, is probably the best way to put it. It was incredible. So thank you to everybody. I'm trying to find. I have to remember how to use this screen, Lady B. Oh, here it is. I got it. So we do have clips from yesterday's conversation, but it looks like Jim has something he wants to talk about separately right now. Hey, Jim, how are you doing today?
Hi, Perry. How are you?
I'm good.
Anyway, I listened to Joan's show today, and Paul from Seattle it around the nose. Apparently, the article in the New York Times is Barr and Durham. Durham was hired as a mouthpiece for the Republicans to get dirt on some Democrat in Rome. So they go to Rome to get the dirt. And what happens is there's a warrant for Trump's arrest. And they go, well, we'll have to huddle over that one, And all I could think of was at the Trevi Fountain. He probably got caught wading into the Trevi Fountain grabbing handfuls of coins. You know what I mean? If you do it 3 times, they really frown on it. Anyway, what a story. It's in the New York Times today. This guy, it just got away. It's incredible. He can't go to a country without having an arrest warrant out for him. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, for my God, when I was a kid, you had to duck, dodge, and hide, stay out of jail. Anyway, Terry, you have a great weekend, and thanks for taking my call, dear. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, here, this is from Vox, as Jim was mentioning. In 2019, a few weeks after the release of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report on Russia's interference in the 2016 election, the Trump administration flipped the script and began investigating the investigators. And Attorney General Bill Barr appointed U.S. Attorney John Durham to investigate those government officials who had presumed to look into Donald Trump's ties to Russia. The FBI's Trump-Russia probe, Barr argued, was born of chasing thin conspiracy theories and relied on phony evidence, and its investigators were either blinded by political bias or acting with blatant political motives. And then he and Durham proceeded to do exactly the same thing that they were accusing other people of. So yes, in the New York Times, the journalists Charlie Savage, Adam Goldman, and Katie Brenner began digging into exactly what happened during the nearly 4-year Durham investigation, which is about apparently to conclude. Anecdote after anecdote portrays Durham and Barr as believing in conspiracy theories without evidence, but with clear political motives to bolster one of Trump's favorite arguments that he was the victim of a nefarious plot. So basically, Durham and Barr wanted to prove that the Trump-Russia investigation was manufactured, in response, they manufactured an investigation. You can't write this stuff. I mean, because if I did, first of all, this is just a stupid plot. It's like you'd be in a writer's room going, "Oh, come on, that's ridiculous. No one's going to buy that." And here we are. If Barr and Durham started off with suspicions but found upon investigation that they were baseless, that's not necessarily so terrible, as the article goes on, but both men kept on saying or implying publicly that the deep state Clinton campaign hit job theory was true. And in public statements, Barr said it outright, and in court filings, Durham, during trial questioning, it seemed to be designed in advance to create a narrative that they couldn't prove. I don't know what is happening. And we talk about this all the time. I was reading a thread about how we need to, Democrats and progressives need to start going after Republicans the same way they do, but because we can't, with our full heart and full-throated conviction, sound like these people. We can't go, no. And by the way, we don't have to create things out of thin air and launch false investigations because they do crazy, insane stuff all the time, and we point it out, and it doesn't matter, right? They can yell groomer about, they call, groups like Awake Illinois call the governor of Illinois groomer, right? Because of legislation that has been passed for sex education, and then they blow that up and say that they're the governor. So, but can we just talk about what the word groomer means? It means basically, I don't want to talk about it, but still, it is, creating a bond with a child in order to gain trust and then use them sexually. And so they can yell things like that, and that's fine to say, and put a target on not just the governor, but people who perform and are true to themselves. They paint them with these broad strokes of terror, basically, and make people, and it's the fact that people believe it or buy into it or say, well, that's just an opinion. I'm sorry, calling the governor a groomer is not an opinion. That's not an opinion. So anyway, we don't need to lower ourselves and try to accuse Republicans of fake things when they do horrible things, and that doesn't even matter. It doesn't. Right, Dave? Hey, Dave, what's on your mind?
Hey, Patty. I was telling Lady B and that what's got me still kind of peeved yet is this. Earlier in the week, they had this story where the National Archives was asking that former vice presidents and presidents now checking and double-checking to see if they got any more documentation. Well, I'm sorry. Isn't that what the director or the directors of the National Archives should have been doing all along, knowing who got this stuff?
That's you would think, right? If you know how many pages were printed out, right? So you know where they were left last. Yes, how is there not sort of this reclaiming of every single document and making sure it is where it belongs? You bring up a good point. I don't know what the process is.
And my thought, perhaps maybe they should start auditing this National Archives books like a couple times a year and that, and these people, I'll say directors again. These people are getting, I'm sure, a handsome salary for not knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
You know,
well, yeah, I don't know. Again, who knows what the process is? And then who would you have investigate, sort of do an audit? Who would that be? The DOJ? I mean, who would you say would be responsible for that?
Good question.
Right?
But, I mean, that get somebody a new job. But I mean, if they've never tried it, even they've been getting away with it. It's like someone said. I mean, you got different rules. Like, I mean, if you're hire, because some of these senators and stuff like that have said they've been in the skiff and that they pat themselves down to make sure they don't got no electronic stuff and double check on their way out. But apparently with these guys, it's a different set of rules. And then I asked once before, like, you have these pages or aides packing your stuff up if you're leaving, and I'm sure they don't have top secret clearances to be looking at this stuff, and they're grabbing and throwing them in the boxes. And, like I say, and in President Biden's case, I mean, he's been, since he was a senator and stuff up there, he's been 42 years up on that hill. So he knows, he should know the game better than anybody. But to get along with a double set of standards, for like, okay, these hires, I wonder what the reality winner thinks about this.
Yeah, right.
She took 2 documents, and the stuff she took kind of proved the proof about the Russians being involved with Trump's campaign that time. And she had they threw the hammer at her at 5 years, and she did a good 4 out of the 5, and then that last one has been probation. And back in 2008, there was a guy, this Bergerson, he was a Pentagon employee, and he was convicted for selling secrets to the Chinese because he was seen on an FBI surveillance, stuffing his pockets with money or cash.
Right.
His sentence was only like about 6 months less than reality winner. But last but not least, and this is where our hires would probably fill in, is with old former Army General and then CIA Director David Bitray, as I call him, when he had taken them 6 top secret notebooks for his author for his the book for his mistress, and then he lied to the FBI, and then they went to the house and they found it tucked up in his attic, 6 of them, and he had said the same thing. I turned them all in. I kind of did a Trump number. I turned them all in, and they found them.
Right.
Well, he was what kind of punishment did he receive? 2 years of a probation and $100,000 fine. And now, what? He's some kind of a spokesperson for CNN.
Right. Yeah. It's good work if you can get it, right?
Yeah. And these other 2, though, because they're lower on the ladder, they had to do prison time.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, like they say that the Trump and the Biden and theirs is, apples and oranges, but, I'll look at it too if they were robbing a liquor store and Trump was the one that went in with the gun and Biden was driving the car and he didn't say it until later, he would still get the same, as an accessory, but they're not going to do that. So just a slap on the wrist,
I know, isn't it sad we don't have any faith in justice? And I mean, I think that's a big problem too. Is we see these kinds of crimes that are going, unaccounted for in a just way, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah, no, like I said, I feel bad, like with these reality winner and stuff like that they paid the price for doing it with a whole lot less, than these guys did. But I don't know, but that's my thought anyway, that I think they better start doing something with this, National Archives, either get a new board of directors or something, or, I mean, they should get some kind of penalty for what they have not been doing.
Right. Yep.
A lot of incompetence there. All right.
Thanks, Dave.
Listen, have a good weekend, Patty.
You too. Have a lovely weekend. Take care. Let's take a break here. Come back, continue our conversation. 773-763-9278 is the number to call and join our conversation, or to text us. You can do the same number, 773-763-9278. And we want to thank our sponsors of the text screen. It's sponsored by Camp Kupagani, a child summer of empowerment, challenge, and fun. Go to multiculturalcamp.com. We also want to thank our sponsors of the Driving It Home with me, Patti Vasquez Show. I want to thank Minocqua Brewing. You can go to the Patti Vasquez Show page, right there pinned at the top. You can find all the Chicagoland locations where you can pick up a progressive brew or a hard choice seltzer. Proceeds go to support Personal Pack of Illinois. And we also want to thank Kids Above All. You go to kidsaboveall.org and find out about all the amazing work they do there to help children reach their potential, many of whom who have survived trauma, abandonment, a lot of kids who need support and stability. So we can go to kidsaboveall.org and, again, find out the great work that they do there. And, as always, want to remind you to keep this phone number in your car in case you're ever in a situation where you need to call a car guy. It's 773-248-1200. That's Warren Price's number from European and U.S. Car Service. And you can go to europeanus.com to find out about the kind of service he provides, because it really is it just heads above everybody else, heads and shoulders above everyone else. He's my car guy. Let's come back in just a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
Out Chicago.
We need your voices. We need people out there who are our allies, who are out there to help just get rid of the disinformation and the lies. That's the thing.
Make decisions based on passion, based on humanity, based on kindness, because what we're hearing from the other side is just the opposite of those things. It shouldn't be tolerated in this country.
Catch Out Chicago every Sunday, 11 to 1 on WCPT 820.
At WCPT, you can text us at the same number you used to call us, 773-763-9278. Thanks to our texting sponsor, Camp Kupagani, celebrating 15 years of growing kinder, smarter, and happier kids. Give the child in your life a summer of empowerment, challenge, and fun. Camp space fills up fast. Register today at multiculturalcamp.com, and let's keep those texts coming, 773-763-9278.
This is Patti Vasquez, and I'm honored to be the keynote speaker at the legendary Truman Dinner, hosted by the Kane County Dems. The dinner is Sunday, February 26th, at a brand new, larger venue this year, the Q Center at 1405 North 5th Avenue in St. Charles. Cocktail hour begins at 4 and the dinner and program at 5 p.m. Looking forward to seeing you there. Ticket information available at canedems.org.
WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
Hi, this is Kirk Bankstead from the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I sell progressive beer like AOC IPA and Bernie Brew, a lovingly irascible Democratic Socialist lager. A percentage of the proceeds of every beer I sell goes to helping keep Wisconsin blue and driving the Trump cult out of our state. Enjoy a great craft beer and help your dysfunctional neighbor to the north get its democracy back.
Now available at Arminetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Illinois, and Famous Liquors in Lombard, as well as in Chicago at A&S Wine and Spirits, Back of the Yards, and Grand and Western Liquors, Ukrainian Village. Please drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
In just a few minutes, we're going to meet another candidate for a Chicago aldermanic race. I do want to acknowledge, Lady B, if you get a chance, if you text me, I'm sure maybe I'll get a text in regards to whether or not the video in Memphis gets released publicly. I know that a lot of folks are talking about this today, and I want to thank our friend George Bliss, who sent me some information in regards to the 5 Memphis police officers who were charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault, 2 charges of aggravated kidnapping, and 2 charges of official misconduct. And he also sent me the comments from Antonio Ramanucci, who this was at a press conference earlier today. This is an attorney who said he was defenseless the entire time. He was a human pinata for those police officers. It was an unadulterated, unabashed, nonstop beating of this young boy for 3 minutes. And as the mother was there, and I've heard earlier today that his last words were "Mom," and he was not far from home, and there's going to be a lot of conversation about this. I haven't spoken to any of my friends in law enforcement, so I don't really want to speculate on what the conversation is going to be like from people who want to blindly defend situations like this before any of us have had a chance to really talk about it amongst each other and those that want to. There just can't be a reasonable explanation for something like this, and it is heartbreaking that another family is grieving because of a police involved situation where someone had a traffic stop. I know that people are going to talk about the fact that he was driving recklessly. We have yet to see any evidence of that. Because we will see the video, we're going to want to know more about this story. So as that story develops, we will stay up to date on that. Joining me in studio is JuanPablo Prieto, who is running for the aldermanic seat of the 30th Ward. This is it all you'd hoped it would be running for office?
Yeah, all that and more.
So we met a little over a year ago, campaigning for Alderman Gilbert Villegas,
yes,
who was running to be in Congress. Can I ask you, just aside from your race, did you have any thoughts when? And I shouldn't ask you that. Maybe I shouldn't ask you this because I was so gobsmacked when Congresswoman Delia Ramirez endorsed Brandon Johnson over Chuy Garcia. I was like. So I won't put you on the spot with this, sure. But it's a reminder, and so this is something I'm sure you've heard before, and take this to heart. Friends are not permanent. Enemies are not permanent, unless maybe you're me. Enemies are not permanent. Interests are permanent, and that's that. It changes for me every time I think about that. But had you heard that before?
I have. Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, it's something that I have practiced throughout my career of like making sure that I'm ready to work with anyone, right? Yeah. I'm ready to work with anyone and find solutions, common sense solutions, and implement them. Whether we agree on, we don't have to agree on everything, but right. If we agree on this one issue, we can get it forward.
Right.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing is that, and when I say that there's some things I will not let go of, and it's when people use their position to traumatize survivors of violence, use their power to direct focus at somebody as a target simply because they were challenging their political status.
Right.
So I draw a line, and I think that people wish that I would go. Because once you let something go without accountability, it gives people permission to do it again. So I don't know, how has the race been for the 30th Ward? Is there? I'm not seeing many mailers even for the mayoral race yet.
Yeah, no, it's going well.
Yeah.
It's a 4-way race, so open seat. I feel really good about my chances going into this race. I'm really leaning in on my experience. So I was born and raised here in Chicago. I'm a proud CPS graduate and parent, and I currently serve as the Director of Diversity Programs at CTA. So for the last 8 years, I've been connecting small minority women-owned businesses and individuals to either contracting or career opportunities on CTA contracts. And I want to use my expertise in government, small business development, and coalition building to bring transparent and responsive representation to the ward. And what I've been getting, the feedback I've been getting at the doors is that's what people want. People want someone who knows how to work through city government and just get things done, right? They don't need to be experts in government. They need to live their lives. And me as hopefully the next alderperson of the 30th Ward, I'll be able to cut through that bureaucracy and get things done for them.
What to tell folks who aren't familiar necessarily with the 30th Ward, what communities are incorporated in the 30th Ward?
Yeah, so the 30th Ward goes from Central Park on the west, on the east, Narragansett on the west, and Addison runs the full stretch of the ward. So it picks up neighborhoods like Avondale, Old Irving Park, Greater Independence Park, a little bit of Portage Park, Belmont Central, Belmont Cragen. So it's a very large and diverse. Yeah, it's a diverse ward, definitely. And you know, I'm committed to making sure that every part of the ward hears from me and that they know how to get a hold of me.
For folks who aren't familiar, like, tell me a few of your favorite, and I know it's hard to say because you're like, oh, I'm going to leave somebody out. Some of your favorite restaurants in the 30th Ward. See? You're like, no. Just,
how do you choose?
Right?
You know?
If someone's coming to your neighborhood and you want to show off, where do you take them in the 30th Ward?
It depends, really. So if you want to go for for breakfast, you've got a really nice, so I live in Kilbourne Park neighborhood. A really nice, just kind of diner there. City Cafe.
Sure.
Dependable breakfast, right? Every morning. You can go to La Manzana too. So Bryn Mawr Breakfast Club opened up a location there, just outside the ward, right across the street. But we still claim it there. And then, you know, if you want, we've got some good sushi restaurants. We've got a lot of Mexican restaurants. We've got some Salvadoran restaurants. Colombian restaurants in the ward as well. So we have a pretty good variety of restaurants.
Outstanding. I do, you know, it's one of those things where every neighborhood I go to, I like to eat local and see what folks have brought to a community. It's fascinating to me because it says, especially because I really believe that our communities need to be more walkable. Yes. Be able to walk to you know, and we should be encouraging, as you mentioned, small business owners to set up shop in our neighborhoods. Let me take a break here. We're going to do a little weather update. We'll continue our conversation with JuanPablo Prieto. See, yes. I knew I was going to get it wrong. JuanPablo Prieto, who is running for the aldermanic seat of the 30th Ward. We'll continue our conversation when we come back. If you have a question for the candidate, 773-763-9278 is a number to call and join our conversation. You can also text if you're not able to call right now. The number again to text the same, 773-763-9278. Oh my gosh, I just got distracted by a text. 773-763-WCPT is a number to text. More in a moment on the Heartland Signal.
Tired of all those talking heads down the dial who think they're always right?
People need to just calm down. It's gotten ridiculous.
Welcome to WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Quite frankly, I get most of my news from you.
This is WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
You are listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
Here's the latest Chicago weather update. Mainly cloudy skies tonight, low temperature near 20, and winds out of the west, occasionally gusting up to 40 miles an hour. A winter weather advisory for Saturday, 1 to 2 inches of snow during the day, and another 1 to 3 inches of snow Saturday night. Saturday's high temperature around 31 degrees, snow ending Sunday with a high of 28. Monday, cloudy, high of 19. Tuesday, light snow with a high of 15. In the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Ray Miller. Right now, it's 36.
Progressive Commercial Insurance flexes to fit your business needs, from quick repairs to adjustable coverages and even payment options. Progressive Commercial makes it easy to get what you need. Quote today in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
The light at the end of the tunnel.
Light at the end of this tunnel.
That light at the end of the tunnel.
Your guiding light.
That light is going to get brighter and brighter.
Through another day.
I think it's a great day.
The Joan Esposito Show. Live, local, and progressive. Weekday afternoons at 2 on WCPT 820.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now. At 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez. Now on WCPT 820.
February 28th is the day to vote for the Chicago elections. However, early voting has started at the super sites. You can also apply to vote by mail. And early voting will continue to spread. There'll be more locations as we get closer to that day. Some folks like to vote the day of. I've definitely gotten into the practice, especially because of the pandemic, of voting early. So with that in mind, I wanted to ask our guest, candidate for the 30th Ward, JuanPablo Prieto. So are you? Oh, here I'll get to. We do have a question coming up, but let me ask you this. What has surprised you the most during this election? Once you decided to throw your hat in the ring, is there something? Because I know there's probably quite a few things, but does something jump to mind that has surprised you in this race?
Honestly, how ready people are to help.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
It is.
Yes.
It's, you meet community members, tell them what you're about, and they're like, great, I'm all in. Where do you need me?
Right.
And that's, something you just expect to have to do all the work as a candidate and, your campaign staff, but when you get the community members, it really feels good.
You know what? That's a really good point. And one of my, we were friends before my race. I consider him to be one of my best friends, Jerry Walski, who is a collaborator on this show. Again, and there was I'll tell you this, Jerry will laugh because we had sort of a wing of the campaign. It was like Patty's ex-boyfriends, their moms and their wives. I had ex-boyfriends' moms donate to the campaign.
Oh, nice.
I had an ex-boyfriend who put my lawn sign up. I had an ex-boyfriend whose wife, we didn't really date, but he was my prom date.
Sure.
His wife was on the campaign with it. Rebecca came out, was like, she was in the snow and in the cold. So it is incredible, the people that will show up. And for us, it was like, look, even Patty's ex-boyfriends think that she should be. I mean, like, that's a pretty good big stamp of approval. It was one of my favorite things.
Yeah, exactly.
We were actually going to send out an email from my ex-boyfriend's mom just to say,
she's supporting you.
Exactly. Just even though it didn't work out with Patty and Jason, I still think this
would have worked.
Yeah, it was. It is very fun to see that, fun and gratifying.
Yeah.
To see people that want to get involved. So Gregory lives in Rogers Park. So this is not necessarily in your ward, but I think this is, it's always good to hear what people from the Chicagoland area, because you would have an impact on the entire city. So Gregory, what's your question?
My question is, how concerned are you as a candidate about changing the driving culture in the city of Chicago so that motorists will yield to pedestrians who present themselves at a crosswalk? It's state law. We have thousands of them in our gigantic city, and you only run into one, if that, on any given trip. And yet motorists yield to all manner of other things, and trucks and buses and cars. But the fragile pedestrian, they don't want to yield to. They want them to wait and try to time the flow of traffic. It's gotten better, the social contract, over the last 20 years I've been back. I grew up here in the 60s and 70s, finished growing up in California, where I learned how to see and yield to pedestrians. But it's just, it just needs to be clarified and enforced, because it's a small thing that can be fixed, low-hanging fruit.
Before JuanPablo answers, I have a question for you, Gregory. What worked in California? What do you think was the difference with how? Was it laws? Was it the culture? What makes the difference between Illinois or Chicago drivers in particular be less aware or concerned about pedestrians than they are in places like California?
I think in the western states, because they were traveling at high speeds on the open highway, going long distances, and they had large mammals that would appear at any moment in time, like a bison or a moose or cattle ranchers or horses, and they had to respect the large mammals that would appear all of a sudden, including humans. So I think that's where that comes from. But here, there's just the tyranny of the car, and you can't expect people to be a pedestrian rights activist like me. I've been a wheelchair taxi cab driver for the last 20 years, and I'm trying to change the culture, and it has to come from the top. I mean, you can't expect people to be increasing the chances of getting rear-ended or having someone go around you and hit the pedestrian. I've had to get out and play traffic guard a dozen more times to get someone across the street. I like what Evanston has done next door with the red flag system, which is spreading around the world. And all it is a low-tech system of having a stick with a red flag and a container, and you pick up the stick with the red flag, and it signals that it's red, it needs stop, I'm ready, I'm not waiting for it to clear, I'm not on my cell phone, it's my turn, and it works like magic. If you don't touch the red flag in the 8 intersections they have, there are about 10 intersections in Evanston where they have this. If you don't touch the red flag, most of them will just keep going. As soon as you touch the red flag, they all stop. And a young attorney told me it took 1.5 years to train them in Evanston. So if it took 1.5 years to train the upper middle class, highly educated community of Evanston, it would take 3 years here in my hometown, Chicago. But it can be done. All right. That's my question.
Yeah, thanks for that question.
Thank you for the follow-up. My follow-up question. Go ahead, JuanPablo.
No, that's a great question. I think, for multiple reasons, we need to try and reduce our dependence on cars. It's an environmental issue. It's a health issue. It's a small business issue. One of the things that I want to do is create a more pedestrian, bike, transit-friendly 30th Ward and the neighborhoods within it. That includes, bringing more small businesses to fill the vacant storefronts so that we can get the goods and services we need without having to travel outside of our neighborhoods. And we can walk more, we can bike more, right? So hopefully we can work to reduce our dependence on cars. We do need to do some traffic studies and make sure that we're looking at not only the areas where we know there's high pedestrian traffic and there have been some accidents. There's been unfortunately, some fatal accidents with bikes in the 30th Ward, so we need protected bike lanes. But also those traffic studies need to include areas with low pedestrian traffic because it's a safety issue, right? No one crosses there because it's so hard to cross there. And how do we correct for that? Is it bump outs? Is it, like Gregory said, a low-tech solution like the flags, right? I've seen other intersections that have a button where you can push. It's got lights, lights in the middle of the road that's signaling to drivers there's someone crossing to slow down.
Right.
But we definitely need more pedestrian safety here in the city. It's a great city to walk around in. We have a world-class transit system that will be improving. I know they will improve, and we need to make sure that it's accessible. My family's down. We're a one-car family. I love riding CTA. I take it into work when I was working at CTA. Even now when I'm campaigning to the campaign office, I jump on the bus. So the 30th Ward will have an example in their alderperson. I'll be on the system, making sure that I'm using it as well.
Yeah, I think the caller makes a great point about, there's right in front of the Blue Line terminal on Milwaukee Avenue, obviously a lot of traffic all day long for folks going back and forth, going to and from the transit station, because there's so many buses that terminate there or originate there. And of course, the metro station, the Blue Line, with a lot of traffic, a lot of people who work for the airlines or at the airport, also get off there. And when I was campaigning, I was outside in front of that terminal every single morning, 5 days a week, at like 6 a.m. And like the number of times that I gasped or screamed because there's an island there, and there's a very distinct crosswalk, and it was gut wrenching. I'm so glad that I cannot believe there were days with a lot of snow. There were icy days, and people will come very close. You'd hear the screeching and the horns because people in this city do not consider those marked crosswalks when someone is about to cross as something that they're supposed to pay attention. And look, I always want to reiterate that I'm not perfect. I'm not used to it. I wish that there was something we could do, as Gregory mentioned, something that does make it more normalize being aware of pedestrian.
Yeah.
Like, we are not normalizing
I definitely think
that.
it's an educational campaign, right?
Yeah.
Like the city needs to put together a campaign of just be more aware, right? I mean, we're more and more distracted when we're driving, unfortunately, right? We have more devices in our cars and more screens in the cars that are distracting us, but we've got to look up. We've got to be in the moment, There's a lot of people walking around the city, and we want to make sure that they're getting where they need to safely.
There's a texter says, up in Marengo, Illinois, they have signs that say cars must stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk. It's state law. Granted, it's a smaller town, but it says state law. I feel like, I mean, you're also supposed to, we also know that we were supposed to come to a complete stop at a stop sign. And I was watching this video of a mom had taken in Lincoln Park in front of her school, and what are the characteristics of a full stop, JuanPablo Prieto?
Well, I mean, so I have a friend who used to work at DOT, at US DOT, and she's not from Chicago. So we were driving one time, and I did a rolling stop, I'll admit, and she's like, you need to stop, the car has to roll back.
Yes!
Has to roll back.
Yes!
And
I was like,
I told her, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a car come to a complete stop in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, I'm probably about 30%. I'm not saying I do it every time, but I'm aware of it. I mean, I rolled through the other day and I was like, it's so bad. I'm a bad example. But yes, it's a complete stop. Your car kind of rolls forward, and when it rolls back, you come to a complete stop. Because I thought it was like 3 seconds. So sometimes I'll come to a stop and I'll be like 1, 2, 3. But no, the complete stop, then you're done and proceed if it's safe.
Yeah.
But I often think, is it also, and this would be statewide legislation to enhance perhaps driver's ed, or do we not rubber stamp people's driver's license renewals and just something, just a questionnaire, just to remind people? I know, let's say perhaps I've gotten a speeding ticket in Mount Prospect and had to take an online driver's ed course again, and it was really, I hated doing it, but it was really helpful. Like, you know what changed from when I was in high school was how you adjust your side view mirrors.
Oh, okay.
Because it used to be when I was in 1987, you were supposed to catch a little bit of the side of your car.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Like, that's not how you do it anymore.
Oh, no. I don't know. I need a refresher.
Yeah, we all need a refresher because you know where your car is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, we're not learning how to drive bigger cars or SUVs or with bigger cars and SUVs and distracted driving. All those things, I think we need a refresher course on that. So you mentioned that you are a CPS graduate. Where'd you go to high school?
Northside College Prep.
Oh, look at you.
Yes.
What? That's a fancy. I went to Lane Tech, so I got a chip on my shoulder about all the other magnet schools. Well, that brings up another point. So how, the schools in your community, have you talked to parents who are like, I wish that we had a high school. Are you, wait, let me think. Steinmetz? What high school?
Steinmetz and Schurz.
Steinmetz and Schurz.
Yes.
Okay, wow. That is a pretty big ward.
Yeah. Yeah, Chicago Academy also.
Okay, so is Chicago Academy a charter school or?
That's a good question. No, I believe it's a CPS high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for folks, when we talk about charter schools, the reality is that there are over 60,000 kids in charter schools, and I support CTU and everything that CPS does. We also have a lot of kids of color who rely on the programs at charter schools for a variety of reasons, whether it was school closures over the last decade, access opportunities. So Steinmetz and Schurz are schools where the parents are really invested. I know my friend Dan Aviles, who I think he's in 38.
Okay.
Yes, he's in Spasato's ward. But we've talked about that school and how, we should be uplifting schools like Steinmetz so that kids aren't having to get on a bus. I mean, I know that Northside Prep is great. I know that Lane Tech, Walter Payton. But I've wondered, why aren't our neighborhood schools, why aren't we getting the talent and resources that all kids deserve, right?
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't matter what neighborhood you live in. You should be able to go to your neighborhood school and get a world-class education. Yes. We are the third largest city in the United States. We are a world-class city. We should provide a world-class education to every school. We have to support our principals, our teachers, our staff. My wife is a school social worker, so I hear the struggle of just providing the resources for kids outside of just the basic education, right? It's like the wraparound services that they need to make sure that they could sit in class and learn. We've got to make sure that every school has a nurse, a social worker, and a librarian. These are things that I remember having a nurse and a librarian when I was at Solomon School, in my elementary school. We had that, right? And those are great resources, and we need to bring those resources back for kids.
So did you grow up over at, in the Saguenay area? Or?
I was east of Saguenay, so I was by Peterson and Pulaski.
Is it weird that you're like, what?
Yeah.
Well, Solomon had, this is another issue as in regards to education for individuals with disabilities, with kids who have special needs. And the language, I know people go back around and around on, I'm 18 years in, I'm still trying to figure it out and things change. But so here's an example, and you know that transportation can be dicey, and this goes back a way, but my son Declan qualifies for the extended school year, ESY, which means he benefits from the structure and the grounding of that kind of program. And he's nonverbal, and I was traveling, and my husband called me. He goes, first of all, Declan's okay, just so you know. And apparently, so Steve got him on a bus. He was supposed to go to Solomon, and he got a call. They'd gone, thankfully Steve had labeled and put our phone number inside his folder. They had dropped him off at another school. They dropped him off at Beaubien, and no one knew who he was.
Right.
No one knew why he was there. And I've struggled with CPS. Are you familiar with Beard Elementary School?
I've heard of it, yes.
Beard was one time a premier school for children on the spectrum, and it only goes to 3rd grade. I fought very hard to try to expand that program to at least 6th grade because parents are still finding their way through. And they just, do you know what tuitioning out means? They tuition out kids like Declan because they don't have the resources or programs that are will support him, and it makes no sense to me. Like the investment of time and resources. So these are just things like from parents that might not have the opportunity to talk to you about the special education in CPS.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we need to hold CPS leadership accountable for. They need to do a better job of providing for all children, but for children with disabilities, we definitely need to make sure we have the right resources, the transportation. Dropping a child off at the wrong school, like, that's unacceptable.
That is crazy.
It's unacceptable. Like, we need to make sure that every kid is getting the resources they need to get into the classroom so that they can learn and have a good time. I mean, I had fun in school. I made great friendships in school.
Right.
And we want to make sure that every kid's in that environment where they just feel comfortable at school.
Right. I agree. I mean, because it was a little tougher in the 70s and 80s for kids. And look, it's not easy for kids who are different and unique. In particular, if you have a disability. I mean, we didn't know anything about autism in the 70s and 80s. And you look back and you think, that poor kid who was the target of so much harassment and bullying. And you try to think, like, did I ever stand up for them? Could I have done better? Yeah. And now being Declan's mom, I'm so grateful for the people who provide his education, his care at school, and for people who fight for kids like Declan and individuals like Declan. Definitely. Let's take a quick break here. We're hanging out with JuanPablo Prieto. He's running for the 30th Ward Aldermanic seat. I should probably find out how much time he has because he might have an event, and I'm like, hey, let's sit back and just hang out on the air. All right, more in a moment on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal. Feel free to give us a call or text if you have any questions for our guest. 773-763-9278 is the number to call and join our conversation.
Ring in the new year and save with invoice pricing exclusively at Huck Volkswagen Joliet. That's right, you pay what we pay and not 1 penny more. Choose from a huge selection in stock and ready to drive home today, like Tiguan, Taos, Atlas Cross Sport, and more. Plus, every new Volkswagen we sell comes with 3 years no-charge scheduled maintenance. Do a quick search and you'll see why smart people like you choose Hawk VW. The reviews don't lie. We're highly rated on Google, Carfax, Facebook, Dealer Rater, and we have an A+ rating with the BBB, and we actively support our local community. Now is the best time to buy a new Volkswagen. We've got over 200 new Volkswagen models in stock, ready to drive home today, including the 2022 Volkswagen ID4, Volkswagen's first fully electric vehicle. Hawk Volkswagen on Jefferson Street in Joliet, online at hawkvw.com. Offer ends 1/31/23. For more details, please call 815-741-1100.
This is John Daniel, President and Business Manager of the Sheet Metal Workers of SMART Local 265. Workers across Illinois shared a victory last November when the Workers' Rights Amendment passed. There are some who believe that this was for the sole benefit of unions. Although unions brought it to the table, we did it for the benefit of all workers across our state. If you work at a coffee shop, a sheet metal shop, or a corporate office, all workers deserve a safe and respectful workplace, a fair living wage to raise their families, affordable and expansive health insurance to protect their families, and a dignified retirement at the end of their working career. Unions fight every day for those basic rights. This amendment blocks anti-worker legislation that continues to negatively impact families across many other states, including lowering wages and unsafe working conditions. There was a lot of buzz when this amendment was up for a vote, but I believe the real buzz should be now. Let's celebrate a win for the working class. Learn more about us at smart265.org.
You're listening to...
Sorry, I hit a button there. I don't know what just happened. I think hold on. I think I have to hit that again. Hold on.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
No? Oh.
Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
JuanPablo Prieto, candidate for the 30th Ward, watching the magic happen at WCPT. So we were just talking a little bit off the air about endorsement sessions. So I don't think folks understand what an endorsement session is. I didn't know anything about, like, you see these endorsements, endorsed by, and things like that. And for folks who get these mailers and they'll see someone's, again, I've used my campaign as an example just because that's what I have from experience. It is jarring to see people like the incumbent, and again, machine politicians and incumbents they get a tremendous amount of support monetarily and manpower and endorsements. And to see Mayor Lightfoot, and I haven't said it, we haven't had words yet, but I'm okay, But Senator Dick Durbin, Congressman Mike Quigley and I sat down and I told him why it was traumatic and hurtful that he was a part of that. Mm-hmm. And he said, I will think about this more deliberately the next time, because they don't do endorsement sessions. Right. And he told my mom, because my mom chased him. Why did you endorse Lindsay? And he goes, because somebody asked me to. That's literally how they respond to those kinds of things. And it's hard. So that's the endorsements that you'll see. A lot of them literally will tell you that they rubber stamp it because they're an incumbent. That's what Treasurer Frerick said. He didn't even know. Someone in his office just rubber stamped it because I had some words for him. Mm-hmm. And so everyone's like, oh God, she's coming for us. Yeah, I am. Yeah. But so then there are endorsement sessions when you sit down with organizations, whether it's CTU or IFT, the Illinois Federation of Teachers, or unions like the carpenters unions, the engineering unions, the pipe fitters, and and then there's the big umbrella ones. Mm-hmm. So tell folks a little bit about your experience with going in for an endorsement session.
Yeah, it was completely new to me. It's my first time running. So it was interesting. I mean, you fill out this questionnaire and you try your best to lean in onto what their interests are and make sure that your interests are aligned with theirs. Right. But you try and I hope every candidate does, and I definitely did, is just stay true to yourself. Yes. If your interests don't 100% align with that organization, make sure you explain why. Right. Make sure you explain why you differ, or where you could help, or where you could be a friend. We were lucky, and we were happy to get endorsed by Northside Democracy for America, and then IBEW Local 9
Congratulations.
Has endorsed us. Yes, so we're happy with those endorsements. We're pursuing others, but it is a tedious process. I've worked campaigns as a volunteer since I was 18. I've never been involved in the endorsement process, and it's a tedious process. We spend quite a bit of time filling out these questionnaires, and we're happy to give the answers, but it's like you get 3 different organizations that kind of represent the same interests with their own questions and a little slight different variation, right. So you can't really answer it the same way. So it does take quite some time, and then there's the interview. You either do a Zoom interview or in person. So good thing now with Zoom is we can just jump on a quick one, right? But yes. I don't mind going in person, making sure that they get to know the real me.
Do you have a team? Are there moments where people are like sort of, going over every single word choice or the tone, and you have to manage personalities on your own team too, don't you? Yeah, and
I've got a pretty slim team, lean team. I've got a campaign manager, fundraising consultant. And we kind of go back and forth here and there about, do I use this word? Do I use that word? Am I being intentional about how I'm describing myself? My fundraising consultant, he's got a little bit more experience in this, and he's always like, you got to brag more. You got to brag more. So
it's hard, isn't it, brag? We're not good braggers.
No, we're not. I'm just like it. My record speaks for itself, and they're like, no, you got to connect the dots for people and make sure they understand. This is what you've done, and this is how you're going to be able to help them.
If I ever run again, one of the things I've told my friend Todd Belcourt, who helped on my campaign, and he was in studio one day talking about the work that I've done. I'm like, I don't know how to tell people I did that. Yeah. And so my plan is to interview him and then record that and have it all transcribed so that I have it and I can just go, okay, This is what he said I did. This is what somebody is thanking me for. Is this a much easier place for me to come from? Right?
Yeah, and it's always great to have an external validator. Right? Yes. I would love to just say, go talk to all the folks that I've worked with over my career, and they'll tell you. You know, I don't want to tell you. They'll tell you.
I'm going to get a little recommendation from my friends. Is the way I want to do it. We are talking to JuanPablo Prieto. He's running for the 38th Ward aldermanic seat. I believe there are 4 candidates for
30th,
this.
yes.
The 30th. Okay.
Yes,
So I talked to somebody who there were like 10 candidates. Like,
oh, I know.
I was like, wow. And that was against an incumbent. In this neighborhood, we're in the 45th. So there are 6 candidates with an incumbent. And I'm sure driving here, you saw all the lawn signs. They're not even lawn signs.
No,
like they're Newton signs.
Huge. Yeah.
Oh, before we go to the break, I do want to say, so I won't, maybe I shouldn't say which candidate, although I mentioned it yesterday. Willie Wilson has a team that just firebombs all the corners and public spaces with lawn signs. And I was I told people yesterday, if you see a lawn sign on a public space, a parkway, on the sidewalk, and or just abandoned buildings and fences, you can throw those away because they are not on someone's lawn. Do not steal something from someone's property. Right. Don't be petty. Don't be stealing people's lawn signs. I know that it's tactical and it's but you can't. But so anyway, someone came up and down Northwest Highway and got rid of all of them. All of them are gone. So plus, I did it too early. That's the night before where you go crazy.
Well, we're trying to be intentional about how much printing we do. Right. Yes. It's not it's bad for the environment. Those things are covered in plastic. They're just going to end up in a landfill. So we're trying to be intentional too with our mailers, with our walk pieces of like, let's print as little as possible. Get me in front of the voters as much as possible, so they can talk to me directly, not through a piece of paper.
I should have given you. I got a couple 300 to get me printed over because we did. We went back and we retrieved as many as we could.
That's good.
So that in the event that and you know what someone did during the pandemic, she called me. She said, "Hey, do you have some of those lawn signs?" And she cut them and paint them for birthday signs.
Oh, nice.
Which was great too.
Oh, nice. Repurpose. There you go.
I loved that.
Yeah.
We're going to continue a conversation with JuanPablo Prieto, for the candidate for the 30th Ward aldermanic seat. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
This is a WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
Chicago's in a leadership crisis.
That's former Chicago Public Schools CEO Paul Vallis speaking at WCPT's January 26th mayoral candidate forum at the Morningstar Auditorium. Vallis is one of 8 challengers vying to unseat incumbent Mayor Lori Lightfoot in the February 28th mayoral election.
My entire career has been doing turnarounds, from rescuing the budget during the Daley administration during the early years to taking a school district that was considered by many to be the worst in the country and transforming it then into a national model. But I did it not by coming in as a sole leader, but I did it by drawing from within the community. That's the leadership that I have demonstrated in every one of my public service assignments that have always been by invitation, and that's the leadership that I'll bring to City Hall.
For WCPT 820 and Heartland Signal, I'm Andy Miles.
Jackson Hewitt guarantees your biggest tax refund, plus a chance to double your refund with the Double Your Refund Sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. U.S. residents 18 or older who file a 2022 federal refund. Ends 4/2/23.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. Police video is to be released shortly of 5 Memphis officers beating Tyree Nichols after a traffic stop earlier this month. He later died. Attorney General Merrick Garland.
It is deeply disturbing, let me say horrific from the descriptions I've been given. I want to give my deepest condolences to Tyree Nichols' family. I can't imagine the feelings that parents must feel.
An attack in Jerusalem has left at least 7 dead. It follows a deadly Israeli raid on a West Bank refugee camp. Jackie Quinn has details.
Anger and confusion in East Jerusalem after a Palestinian gunman opened fire outside a synagogue during the Jewish Sabbath, leading to deaths and injuries. The 21-year-old gunman was found by police and shot and killed. It's the deadliest attack against Jewish Israelis in years, and it raises the prospect of more bloodshed. Earlier, Palestinian supporters had rallied in Jerusalem to protest the raid at the Jenin refugee camp that left 9 Palestinians dead. After the synagogue attack, Palestinians held celebrations in several locations across the Gaza Strip, handing out large trays of sweets to passers-by. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Former Vice President Mike Pence says classified documents found at his home should not have been there, and he's taking full responsibility. And inflation continues to cool. Prices in December up 5% from a year earlier, while consumer spending fell. PNC Financial Services Group Chief Economist Gus Fauché.
For consumers, it does mean that inflation is slowing, so that is certainly good news. And we also see household incomes still going up even after adjusting for inflation, so that's good news. But I think that the risk of recession is pretty high this year.
Stocks finished the week with gains. This is AP News. Another round of Russian shelling has killed at least 10 civilians in Ukraine. A top EU official sees a shift in Kremlin strategy. Charles Deladesma has more.
Stefano Sannino, the Secretary-General of the EU's European External Action Service, says Moscow wants to change the story as the world rallies in support of Ukraine's defence.
Putin has moved from a concept of special operation to a concept now of a war against NATO and the West.
Sannino says helping equip Ukraine with heavy battlefield weapons is not moving the war to a different stage.
It's just giving the possibility of saving lives and allowing the Ukrainians to defend from these barbaric attacks.
His comments come soon after Germany and the US announced that they will send advanced battle tanks to Ukraine. I'm Charles Deladesma.
And I'm Ben Thomas, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
Here's the latest Chicago weather update. Mainly cloudy skies tonight, low temperature near 20, and winds out of the west, occasionally gusting up to 40 miles an hour. A winter weather advisory for Saturday, 1 to 2 inches of snow during the day, and another 1 to 3 inches of snow Saturday night. Saturday's high temperature around 31 degrees. Snow ending Sunday with a high of 28. Monday, cloudy, high of 19. Tuesday, light snow with a high of 15. In the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Ray Miller. Right now, it's 36.
You're the only voice of reason on the radio.
You give me hope.
Having listened to you every day.
Thank you for your clear insight.
Always felt a little bit smarter.
I listen to you every single day. I keep coming back to this station, and thank you for what you do.
On WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
If you're having trouble administering medications to your companion animals, you're not alone. Luckily, we are here to help. Mark Drugs in Roselle and Deerfield have been providing custom-made flavored medications for dogs and cats for decades. While chicken, beef, fish, and even marshmallow are our most popular flavors, I'm sure we can find whatever flavor works best for your four-legged family members. Mark Drugs also carries over-the-counter CBD products that can help your canine with anxiety and inflammation. The advantage of our Green Gorilla brand CBD products is that they are CBD isolates that contain 0 THC and are calibrated to give specific doses, which takes the guesswork out of how many milligrams you're actually giving your animal. At Mark Drugs, we are honored to sponsor WCPT's Pet of the Month, along with Anti-Cruelty Society. Having adopted 2 canines and 1 feline over the years, I'm sure Pumpkin, Susie, and Cowboy would agree, rescue is best. You gotta love Mark Drugs, better health and care for you and your pets. Call or text us 847-419-9898 or visit markdrugs.com.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
You can come up here now. If you wish or you consider it.
About the same height.
I don't know why I just... I'm pressing the wrong button again.
For a long time.
That's Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. I don't know. I just hit that button. I have I guess I should tell people I have a wrist brace on because my thumb is injured, and that's the thumb that I use for the mouse. So apparently I need to be a little more flexible there. I got to do some physical therapy to get my thumb back in order. We have in studio with us JuanPablo Prieto, who's running for the 30th Ward Aldermanic seat, and we've been talking a little bit about fundraising, which I would say is one of the hardest things to do. Yeah. But once you get into the groove of it, wouldn't you say that you just know it's part of your skill? How much time do you spend on call time every day?
Well, now that I'm, so I was in the beginning of the campaign still working at CTA, so I couldn't do any campaigning during work time. So it was either, really early in the morning or after I signed out, weekends. But now I'm on at least for 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be. It's really hard. And when I tell people this is such a crucial part of it is that your message means nothing if people don't get it. If you're not getting calls or texts or mail or a team that can get out there and fill out help you with the questionnaires. And it is also it's discipline. If you're disciplined and can get that done, it also demonstrates that you have the ability to talk to people, make the hard ask. Because being an alder person, you got to do a lot of hard asks.
Yeah. I definitely am a bigger advocate for publicly funded elections.
Sure.
Now,
yeah, I mean everybody is, and that's nice. No incumbent.
No.
I'm sorry. That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
But no incumbent, because once you're an incumbent, the money just rolls in. They tell you that.
Yeah.
That's all right. Now, do you think, are you raising money with in mind that there's quite the possibility of a runoff?
A runoff. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm pushing my team and myself to say we can close it on February 28th, but obviously you gotta know that there may be a second stage here and be ready with the stamina to get through it.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. Is the stamina. So the 30th ward has several communities, parts of different communities: Old Irving, Avondale, Belmont Craig. You said Independence Park. That's new to the ward, isn't it?
Yes, Independence Park. A lot of Old Irving Park, new to the ward.
Yeah. And that's why Schurz must be in your ward as well.
Yes.
So the high schools, Schurz and Steinmetz are both in your ward. And what were your thoughts? Oh, I probably shouldn't ask you about what the mayor's email to CPS teachers. That was so bizarre.
Yeah.
But these are two high schools, and look, having gone to Lane, my biggest experience with them was with sports, right? Playing softball right there, and Schurz has done such a great job of building itself up, the athletic field and things like that too. What have you heard from people about Schurz High School in the community?
It needs more community support. It needs more support from the alderperson who's going to represent there to make sure that we're bringing more community events, that they're building more community around Schurz. We have a great. I live in the neighborhood right next to Schurz, and it is an untapped resource. I think that we need to tap into more. We need to host more events there. We need to make sure the community is supporting the school, attending their sporting events, attending their plays, attending their movies in the park that they host. We need to make sure we're just supporting them and being there for them, so that the students know there's a community around you that's supporting you for your growth. And we're here for you, right? There's so much more outside of education that students need, and that's what the community is there to provide.
And then the other issue, of course, is a lot of folks are talking about public safety, the role of whether it's law enforcement or support services when it comes to mental health or addiction issues, and the root causes. What are some of the things that you have told people is your approach towards public safety?
Yeah, public safety is definitely the number one issue we're hearing at the doors, and we need to take a community approach to public safety, right? We need to make sure that we do have the appropriate level of police presence in our neighborhoods, that police officers are getting out of their vehicles, talking to the community, building that trust, rebuilding that trust. But we need to hold CPD leadership accountable, make sure they're using their budget efficiently, effectively. That means hiring more civilian positions to answer those incidents that are non-criminal, right? Residents experiencing homelessness, substance use, mental health crises. We need experts in mental health and social services to be there for those, so that police officers can be responding to criminal incidents. And then we need to address the root causes of crime. We need to reopen our mental health clinics. We need to expand mental health services in the city. Food assistance, youth development programming, good paying jobs. These all we know are going to chip away at that crime.
And when we talk about a lot of those root causes and supporting people, the other thing in your experience with CT, I know that you work with some of the contracts for diversity for businesses and things like that. But people are also wondering, and one of my questions, I know a lot of folks have asked, isn't there a way for us to coordinate with CTA and have social services, whether it's on the platforms and the people who are trained to address the folks that are riding the train for warmth, for shelter, and things like that?
Yeah, we definitely need to do better in terms of a city, of making sure that we're coordinating across the services that we already have, the nonprofits that already exist that provide those social services to make sure that we're getting those resources to individuals. I mean, someone in again, a city as world-class as Chicago, we should not have folks that feel their only option is to sleep on the train. We need to have more shelters. We need to have better services. We need to figure out, what assistance can we get this individual to get them up on their feet and get them, back at work, back in their own house, whatever it is that they need. We need to be able to provide those services, and we can. I think, sometimes the failures of government is because we don't want to collaborate amongst each other. There's who gets to claim the victory, right? Honestly, when it goes wrong, everyone takes the blame, and when it goes well, there's enough credit to go around, right? Everyone gets to celebrate when it goes well, and we need to focus on that and making sure we're bringing these different layers of government together, working with the county, working with the state to bring other resources in to help individuals experiencing homelessness.
What are some of the other things that you're hearing on the doors when folks want to know about property taxes?
Yes,
of course. What are some of your thoughts on how we can alleviate that for folks?
Yeah, the first thing I think we need to get rid of the automatic escalator on property taxes. As an alderperson, the 30th Ward will elect me to represent them in City Council, and when we need to raise property taxes, I need to be accountable for that vote and explain to the residents why we're going to raise property taxes. It shouldn't be an automatic escalator. Alderpersons should have to take a vote to raise that. We need to work and make sure that downtown buildings are being assessed properly so that they're paying their fair share of property taxes. We need to increase the base of the property tax. That means bring in more businesses to fill these vacant storefronts. Right now, property owners get a huge, almost unofficial incentive to keep a property vacant because they get such a big tax break on it. We need to get rid of that. We need to incentivize filling that storefront, and then we need to cut the bureaucracy to make sure that the business that is going to occupy that storefront gets open quicker, get customers in the door as quickly as possible so they can start creating revenue and creating that generational wealth.
That's one of the things that I've heard a lot of folks talk about when we discuss those empty storefronts. One is, they're not even keeping some of these properties up. There's a vacant lot. There's a lot of vacant lots that sit empty that accumulate a lot of debris, and then you get rodents, and it presents a health hazard and also blight. When I was able to, before my son so Declan has had a rough year. Before that, I was plaking. Plaking is picking up garbage while you're hiking.
Oh, okay.
And one of the places I focused on was right between 5150, which is the mixed income housing building that broke my neighborhood. Really caused a lot of divisiveness. But I thought, let's get these folks who are coming to our neighborhood, let's welcome them and have a clean path for them. And I walked there the other day. We've been trying to keep it up, and it's just filthy. I mean, it's just, and then you have this empty lot by, again, in front of the Blue Line terminal. There does seem to be too much of a incentive. It's cheaper, it seems, for them to keep it empty or not develop them.
Right, not develop or hold out, right? And know that development's coming, hold out, and then we'll be able to sell for a much bigger price, right? And that's wrong. We can't do that. We can't do that. I mean, the inner workings of a campaign, looking for a campaign office. We called a few locations that said we won't do a short-term lease.
Yes. Right.
I'm like,
I ran into the same thing. I just needed an office for 3 months.
Right.
And you're like, so and all those places, none of them have been rented
they're still
since.
empty.
They're still empty.
They're still empty.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were able to get a great location in the heart of the 30th Ward in Belmont-Cragen, Belmont, just west of Central. Please come visit us. We'd love to have a cup of coffee, discuss any issues with you. But we were able to get a great place. But those places are still empty.
It's insane. Let's take a break here. We've got a call from a listener who has a question for you. And thank you for the heads up, Dave, that the video is being aired on MSNBC. I don't plan to watch it, but I want to know. I've made the mistake of watching videos where someone his life is taken, and it's been, and that's in Chicago too. I mean, you think part of your brain goes, well, I should see this to know what we're up against or what is happening to people, and then part of you, like, what humans are capable of is heartbreaking.
It is.
And it's in someone's life shouldn't be something we view carelessly or without thought. So let's take a break here. 773-763-9278. I've got at least one caller that has a question for you.
Great.
JuanPablo Prieto, running for the 30th Ward Aldermanic seat. What's the website so folks can visit?
Yeah, JuanPabloPrieto.com.
Prieto, Prieto.
That's correct.
More in a moment on WCPT.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
There are a lot of respiratory illnesses going around right now. COVID, there's flu, there's RSV, there's strep, there's the common cold. Now, a lot of these do share common symptoms, so you can't always tell. But if they're not that sick, it might not be that important to know, if all you can really do is treat the symptoms. But the question is, how do you know when your kid is too sick to go to school? Ideally, you'd never send them to school if they're not feeling well. But keeping them home may not always be feasible. One ER doctor said that kids definitely need to stay home if they're experiencing a fever, if they're vomiting, diarrhea, they're having trouble eating, poor sleep, problems breathing. One nurse we talked to added that they should stay home if they feel too ill to engage in learning. Now, when can they go back? After 24 hours without a fever, without being on a fever-reducing medication. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
As a Walgreens pharmacist, I talk with people all the time about little tips and tricks for filling their Medicare prescriptions, like taking advantage of Walgreens 90-day refills to save them a trip, or using Refill by Scan, which is super easy and right on your phone. And for anybody worried about prescription costs, I say, hey, we got you, with low-cost copays on many medications.
Let's talk about making things easier. Walgreens is here. Fill your way and save at walgreens.com/Medicare. See pharmacists for restrictions and exclusions.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing. But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
And we are joined by JuanPablo Prieto. He's running for 30th Ward Aldermanic seat. And we've got some phone calls. First is Judy, who has a question for the candidate. Hey, Judy, what's on your mind?
Hi, Patty, and hi, JuanPablo.
Hi, Judy.
I was just wondering if aldermen have anything to do with getting your pipes replaced.
Oh, great question.
I really worry about people drinking lead.
Yes.
And it no longer concerns me. I'm outside of the Chicago drinking now, but for a long time I still was. And I think a lot of these other problems may be affected. I mean, maybe mental health, because, lead's not good for your brain, and certainly physical health. I mean, there's just it just bounces all the way down the line. I think if you can't drink something right, that's a bad start.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we definitely have oversight in terms of the budget, right, and the capital plan that's put forth by the mayor's office, and we need to hold them accountable to make sure that they are they're being aggressive with this plan to replace lead pipes with all the infrastructure money that's coming from the state capital program and the bipartisan infrastructure bill or law. We need to make sure that we're leveraging those dollars and being aggressive with how we replace these lead pipes, and making sure that if we need to increase the workforce, right, temporarily to do it, it's going to have a long-term benefit. It'll be a short-term increase in cost, but we're going to make sure that we have they put forward an aggressive plan to make sure that they replace those pipes.
If I recall correctly, Judy, this was something that Lori Lightfoot had promised. She'd actually campaigned on replacing lead pipes, and I think
I believe so.
Yeah. And the percentage of lead pipes that have been replaced are minuscule.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think the pandemic obviously put a lot of plans on pause, but we need to get back to it. We've got this infrastructure money. It's a once in a generation investment that the federal government's making. We need to leverage those dollars.
Thank you so much for the call, Judy.
Thanks, Judy.
Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you. And let's get Roger. Roger wants to talk about the empty lots. What's on your mind, Roger?
Yes. First of all, I'm enjoying the show very much, and what I have an issue with the aldermen in the city of Chicago, and especially in terms of planning and zoning, there's only like one or two persons that are in charge of planning and zoning. You have empty lots. You have entrepreneurs that are out there that would like to invest in the South Shore area, West Side area. You've seen what's happening in the Pullman district. They're having a hotel go up after 50 to 60 years, getting subsidy. That's good. But the problem becomes is the planning and development that are in the city of Chicago are so slow getting the permit, getting, in terms of any kind of construction we want to do. We can do also affordable housing, small business people. But the opportunities are so stretched out because it takes 6 to almost a year to get a permit.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I've been in.
What are you going to do about that? How would you encourage that planning and development should be given more personnel? So you have empty lots in 31st. You have all these empty lots. You know what University of Chicago did? They bought all the lots.
Yeah.
They bought all the lots in the South Side because they thought they're going to get the Olympics. Now what they're doing, they're sitting on the lots. Nothing.
We definitely need to make sure that we definitely need to make sure that we're investing in streamlining the processes for city government, right, and making sure that the Department of Buildings, the permitting department, that we're making sure that they have technology solutions to make sure that those things are streamlined, that applicants, the business owners can see their permit application online, see what stage it's in. Are they requesting more documents? They can upload the documents. There are technology solutions that we could implement that they could streamline a lot of those processes.
That's a great idea, so that folks can have a real time view of where they are in the application. I mean, like if I can know how my Domino's pizza it is in the process,
you can see it. Yeah.
Right,
yes.
Roger.
Yes, you can have you can have they call it Al's Pizza, whatever. So. The entrepreneurship is here. It's the city of Chicago Department and zoning. We have a lot of immigrants that have now their first generation. You know what I mean? That their parents came in 1970. Now these young kids, they want to invest. They want to do things in the city. But then they have to wait for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months just to get the permit.
Yeah.
Planning and department has to be invested. More has to be invested, and that's all.
Yep, I think it's a good point you're making.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we have to. I have a couple of friends who opened a cafe in West Humboldt Park, and they were delayed in opening because they just couldn't get the permit to get customers in the door. They're taking on debt, right, to keep the place afloat, even though there's no customers coming in. They had a lot of rehabbing to do. We've just got to get that process much smoother for business owners. And we have a ton of entrepreneurs here in Chicago.
By the way, you're in your ward now. You see who's calling.
Yes.
That's a shame that you can see the text screen. Thank you, Roger. Thank you so much for calling and bringing this up. Have a great weekend.
Roger.
Thank you. It's so weird. Before I take your friend's call, you have a new cafe that opened in your ward, in the 30th ward, Stay and Play.
Yes.
It is. I can't believe I haven't talked more about this. It's amazing.
I have not been there yet.
Oh, JuanPablo, I know you're busy. You're campaigning and stuff, but it is, come on. I mean, the food is great. The cocktails are great. And you can play board games.
Yes.
They have a wide, everything from the classics to like role-playing games and just, I was there the morning that Annabelle Val went, and
nice.
And so it was really cool. So I was very excited about that. Hello, you're on the air, Christian.
Hey, Patty. Hey, Pablo.
Hey, Christian. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Pablo?
Good.
Pablo. I'm sorry. I went to high school with we we called him Pablo back in the day, but Pablo it is. And I don't know if he, in his campaign, he talks about his diving days. He used to be the swim team diver a long time ago.
Yeah. How was he? Was he good?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was a dramatic pause. He's like, yeah.
I would say my water polo skills were the better part.
Christian, were you also on the swim team?
Also a good water polo player.
Were you on the?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, you were.
Patty, we actually met about a month ago at the 40th Ward Democratic Party. My name's Christian Bloom.
Oh,
I don't want to give a big plug, but I'm running in the 40th.
I got to have you on.
Pablo, and I completely endorse, or I support Pablo, and I hope everybody that's listening that lives in the 30th votes for him. He's a great guy.
Thank you, Christian.
He's great for the city.
Christian, how is your race coming?
It's going. It's chugging along, but it's one day at a time, and we're just working towards 33 days left. So
yeah. What are you in the car? Are you heading someplace right now? What are you up to tonight for your campaign?
Nothing tonight for the campaign. Just came back from a school event with the kids. So,
cool.
Nice.
Taking the rest of the night off. Yeah.
Well,
got to get some rest.
Yes.
And every now and then.
Self-care is important. What's the website for your campaign so folks can check out your campaign for the 40th Ward aldermanic seat?
Sure. It's bloom40th.com. BLUME 40th.com.
Excellent.
I don't want to take up JuanPablo's time. Again, great guy. Vote for him if you can. Vote for him if you live in the 30th. Look him up. He's a great guy.
All right.
Thank you, Christian.
Thanks,
Christian, let's have you on next week if you have time next week. Sound good?
For sure.
Excellent.
For sure.
All
Thank
right.
you.
That's Christian Bloom running for the 40th Ward. Yeah, that's a lot of people running for offices this year.
Yes.
Which is remarkable.
It's encouraging.
Well, there's a lot of folks who are either retiring or perhaps do not reflect their neighborhood the way their constituents would like them to.
Yes.
There aren't that many unopposed races compared to other years.
Yeah. No, it's encouraging to see a lot of people running and a lot of people in the same boat as I am. So,
what is something that I haven't touched on that you want to make sure people know about your campaign?
Yeah, it's really a community-driven campaign. I want to make sure that the community is with me every step of the way. Please check out the website, JuanPabloPrieto.com. We're pretty active on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and they're just basic things that we want to introduce right away. Participatory budgeting, a zoning committee, a small business committee, a youth committee, just to make sure that we're getting active with every part of the ward, and again, bringing that transparent and responsive representation.
Well, I know that it's a lot of work. I want to thank you for running and congratulate you.
Thank you
for taking the chance and for believing in your community enough to want to be a public servant. And no matter what happens, I know that no one wants to hear that. You're like, your mindset has to be, we are winning this, and that's the energy you have to bring, whether it's door knocking or calling for dollars, or speaking to constituents. So again, what's the website for folks to join?
JuanPabloPrieto.com.
JuanPabloPrieto.com. That's Prieto. And I want to wish you the very best. And let's check in again by phone so that you don't have to take time out of your busy schedule.
Definitely.
I kept you here for an hour. I kind of feel guilty about that because it really is, you have to stay focused. So I, again, wish you the very best and look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
Take care. And thank you, Christian, for calling in. That was really sweet. And I look forward to having you on as well. Have a great evening, a great weekend as well.
Yes, you too.
More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. Our number is 773-763-9278. I think that some of you are watching the video that MSNBC is sharing, and or not. If you have thoughts on the story out of Memphis as they prepare to, there was already protesting, and I have to start whiskey and a cookie. All right, I gotta go, everybody. I'll be right back after this on WCPT 820.
You've been working hard all day and didn't have time to catch up on the news during work.
And that phone just wouldn't stop.
We've got you covered. Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
We will fight as many places and as many times as it takes to get this power back.
Joan Esposito, afternoons from 2 to 5 p.m. WCPT 820.
You are listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
Here's a latest Chicago weather update. A winter weather advisory begins at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning and continues until 3 a.m. Sunday morning. Overcast skies tonight with a low of 20. Westerly winds 10 to 15 miles an hour. Snow likely tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 30. Cloudy skies expected. Snow likely tomorrow night. Lows around 23. Overcast. 1 to 3 inches of snow tomorrow through Sunday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Megan Mulford. Right now, it's 35.
The Takedown with Cliff Schechter.
Behold the Laura Ingraham meltdown at Fox News over Herschel Walker's drubbing. Yes, along with friends, Molly, whatever her face is of the Federalist, and Kellyanne Bowling Green Massacre, as they refer to themselves as, we lost and we need to replace leadership. But the three things that you really need to know about what occurred are, one, they can't utter the words Donald Trump. They can't admit that Donald Trump is the one who picked Herschel Walker, who picked Mehmet Oz, and all these other candidates that were totally unfit, that exist in only their bubble or another planet. Second of all, they went after Republican leadership, whatever that is. Oh, we need to change leaders. They're turning on McConnell. They're turning on McCarthy as if it isn't just Trump. And three, they searched for every excuse they could find. It was the money. It was the lack of intensity. It was messaging. It was the fact that the temperature went down 2 degrees. In the end, they lost.
Hear more from Cliff at heartlandsignal.com and subscribe to his YouTube page.
This is a St. Jude moment.
Ashton was a high-level athlete, and in an instant, your world flips. And your healthy 5-year-old competitive cheerleader has a brain tumor. And the physician was like, your best option is St. Jude. Receiving treatment that was life-saving for our child and knowing that that treatment would be of no cost to us was a huge weight lifted.
Learn more at stjude.org.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
All right, I'm doing two things at once. I had to start. I launched a whiskey and a cookie. Oh, let me turn them off. 1 second. There we go. All right. Hey, everybody. I also want to, before we continue our conversation about anything that I know folks are messaging me that they are playing the body cam footage. Here we go. There's a live. There's live footage of the protests in Memphis, and I haven't gotten too far into this story. I know that this was a pullover. The police officers pulled over someone who they say now was driving recklessly. And one of the things that I think gets lost in these conversations is, regardless of what you think in terms of law enforcement, what their role is, we have to agree that there seems to be this culture of, I get that it's us against, I feel like it's us against them, in the sense that law enforcement seems to think that everyone is out for them, that it's this idea that when you're a hammer, everything's a nail, that everything seems to, not everything, but there are so many situations in which an overabundance of violence is used in situations where we watch them. And look, we know we are not trained law enforcement. We don't know what it's like. We don't know all the cumulative trauma that people in law enforcement go through, whether it's as first responders in the fire departments, or as EMTs, or men and women who put on a uniform and strap on a gun holster and go into situations that most of us would run away from. I understand that there does definitely need to be more mental health support for first responders, for law enforcement. Unfortunately, if that's what the case is that, so many people who take on the job as a police officer are trained that their most important goal is to make sure they go home at night, then anything that comes in the way of that are civilians, are people who are in a situation for whatever reason, whether it's a traffic stop or stealing something and running away from the cops. I really have a hard time with some of the things that candidate Willie Wilson has said in regards to, if someone commits a crime, hunt them down like a rabbit. And doesn't seem to have any room for conversations in which, we've talked a lot about Adam Toledo in the past, and the conversations around that would go back and forth between, what was he doing out late at night? What was he doing with a gangbanger? And so if you answer those things, that, that was where this child felt that he had a support or community and turned to people who were involved in gang activities, then is that a good enough answer for why he is now dead? And the police officer who had to make that split decision, it does have to think of what could happen to him. We've talked countless times about the law enforcement officers that were in the hallway at Uvalde who would not breach the door, it seems, because they were concerned for their own safety. What takes someone over that they beat someone? We saw this decades ago with in Los Angeles, and this, something takes over when someone feels, are they feeling disrespected? Are they feeling like they're in danger? Are they feeling like, what is the culture of law enforcement that we see this time and time again? And I've had conversations with police officers who told me, you guys always focus on when it's a black person. And I was like, okay, so is it okay when it's a white person or a brown person or yellow? I mean, so are you telling me that focusing on the fact that it does seem to be often black men who, a black man who is legally carrying a weapon is shot dead because of a traffic stop and the officer feared for themselves, or a black man who is shot because the officer thought that she was reaching for her taser and she actually reached for her gun? Is it, so is this happening to people who are not black or brown? And are we not, are you saying that the news doesn't cover that? I guess that's what they're saying. And here's the thing, that shouldn't happen either. Can we agree on that? Like that seems horrifying that we are being over policed. I've often wondered about, when it comes to, let's say, expired tags on your license plates, right? The sticker on your plate is expired. I've been pulled over a couple times for that, and my heart starts racing. And I used to joke about this when I was younger, earlier in my career, that whenever I get pulled over, I start thinking, like, is there something I did that I don't know about? Did someone plant something in my car? Just, your adrenaline goes up every single time we have an encounter with law enforcement. It can, and I'm a white presenting woman, and I say that, people probably wonder what that means. It means that I present as when I'm Latina, I look white. Ethnically ambiguous is what people would say, and I get nervous. Now imagine growing up in a community where you're always suspected of something. Black people, I'm sorry, get followed more in stores, are pulled over and have more negative experiences with law enforcement than we do. I don't know that many white people that have stories that reflect my friends of color who tell me about being thrown to the sidewalk because they didn't respond appropriately, or so when stories like this happen, I wish that we didn't have to keep having this conversation about what it means to be over-policed, and we're giving over a lot. And I want law enforcement, I want our police officers to be safe as well. And there is this distrust that is definitely there. And so there are protesters now in Memphis, and folks are deciding whether or not the video, I don't think, it says here that the video is not necessarily being, maybe I'm watching an old stream here, but one of the stations in Memphis is reporting that the news team is trying to make the decision in Memphis, this channel that I'm watching, they're trying to make the decision whether or not to air it. And so as soon as that decision is made, but it seems as though there are other news outlets that are sharing the video. Is this something that you will seek out to watch? 773-763-9278, or what's on your mind today as we continue this conversation again, in regards to, the tragedy in Memphis? I really, I want better. I want to be able to have these conversations without being afraid of questioning the ways in which law enforcement executes their jobs. I don't know why we're not allowed to do that. I get it. I get that we will never know what it's like to be in harm's way in this manner. But that doesn't mean we don't get to have the conversation and hold people accountable. I'm glad that the charges have been filed against all 5 of the police officers in this case have been fired. And there are charges being filed against them as well. So and the 5 officers have been charged with murder. That's significant. And I really think that a lot of people are pleased. I mean, it's not a great way to put it, but they're glad that, this isn't a situation where, because for decades it seemed as though for as long as I can remember, every time there was a police related shooting, every single time they would be cleared, there would be an investigation, and then the prosecutors would have a press conference and say, we are not pursuing manslaughter or murder charges. So this was a traffic stop that resulted in the death of 29-year-old Tyree Nichols earlier this month, and they are releasing the video this evening. They have released it. A lot of news outlets are making a decision whether or not to air it, and Memphis Police Chief. Here's what the Memphis Police Chief, C.J. Davis, said. She said she was not prepared for what she witnessed in the video. She says, "In my 36 years in law enforcement, I don't think I have witnessed the disregard for a human being as displayed in this video." And they are, of course, there are protests right now. The stepfather of Tyree Nichols says, we want peace. We do not want any type of uproar. We do not want any type of disturbance. And I wonder if the charges were also filed so that it would not, in order to at least attend to the legality and, of course, the reaction that people were going to have once this video is released. So each police officer has been charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault, 2 counts of aggravated kidnapping, 2 counts of official misconduct, and official oppression, which is one I don't think I've ever heard of, official oppression. So they have all 5 police officers have posted bond. So the police, this is how the traffic stop apparently went down. The police stopped Nichols near his home in the Hickory Hill neighborhood around 8:22 on January 7th. There was an altercation between Nichols and several officers, and pepper spray was deployed. Nichols fled on foot before a second confrontation with police. He experienced serious injuries at that location and was later taken away by police. They said there was an elapsed period of time before an ambulance was called. The actions of the officers, who were members of the Memphis Police Department, they were part of a special unit called the Scorpion Unit. I don't know what that is. It doesn't say in the article. Have been swiftly criticized by those who have viewed the video. And of course, the mayor has also seen the video and says the actions of the officers were awful and no one, including law enforcement, is above the law. So that's some of the update on the video coming out of Memphis. 773-763-9278. Let me know if you have any thoughts. If you are, if you think you would, do you need to see the video, or are the charges enough? The conversation around it, the news that comes out, descriptions of it. 773-763-9278. And another to sort of turn in a different direction for a moment too, I also want to know, are there events going on in your community that you would like us to know about this weekend? What's happening over by you? 773-763-9278 is the number you can call or text us to join the conversation. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
If you want to stay up to date on politics in the Midwest, check out Heartland Signal, WCPT 820's multimedia newsroom. Our team is dedicated to bringing you news on events like state legislative sessions and the upcoming mayoral election in Chicago. For new video content, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Heartland Signal. Or you can read our digital news updates on our website, heartlandsignal.com, where facts matter.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Energy drinks are more popular than ever. Dr. Stephen Lipschultz, MD, is chairman of the Department of Pediatrics at the University of Miami's Miller School of Medicine. And he was the lead researcher of a study that examined the health effects of energy drinks on teenagers.
Current estimates suggest that 30 to 50% of children and teenagers and young adults consume energy drinks.
And he said parents should be concerned.
It may have opposite of the desired effect. For example, we know that if a teenager wakes up with less than ideal energy in the morning and starts regularly consuming multiple energy drinks, when pediatricians have done sleep studies, they find that taurine and caffeine and sugar reduce the quality of children's sleep. An attempt to try to improve energy may result in just the opposite.
For Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
Diane from Michigan, a disabled senior citizen trying to get by. Henry from Florida, a veteran fighting to make ends meet. Elena from Arizona, a mother struggling to feed her daughter. Hi, I'm Connie Britton, and I support Feeding America because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year, like Diane, Henry, and Elena. Learn more at feedingamerica.org. Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Hi, this is Kirk Bankstead from the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I sell progressive beer like AOC IPA and Bernie Brew, a lovingly irascible Democratic Socialist lager. A percentage of the proceeds of every beer I sell goes to helping keep Wisconsin blue and driving the Trump cult out of our state. Enjoy a great craft beer and help your dysfunctional neighbor to the north get its democracy back.
Now available at Arminetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Illinois, and Famous Liquors in Lombard, as well as in Chicago at A&S Wine and Spirits, Back of the Yards, and Grand and Western Liquors, Ukrainian Village. Please drink responsibly.
On January 6, 2021, followers of Trump and something called QAnon attempted a coup at the United States Capitol. Who are these people?
I want to live with the QAnon girl. I could be happy the rest of my life with a QAnon girl. Believer of theory, she leans to the right.
I've been remiss in reminding folks that the virtual comedy show, that's Steve Goody's song, QAnon Girl, our weekly virtual comedy show is now on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Central. So join us on Monday at 9 p.m. Central. And by the way, on Monday, I'll be off. I know Joan has the week off, and she deservedly so. I will be off just on Monday because I will be hosting a town hall with Better Streets Chicago. We'll be at 115 West Chicago Avenue. It's a panel on Plow the Sidewalks. Joining us will be our friend Laura Seltzman, who we spoke to yesterday, as well as Alderman Gilbert Villegas and other guests to talk about the benefits of Plow the Sidewalks and how we move forward with possibly helping those who rely on mobility, whether it's walking, rolling, and just trying to get by during the wintertime. It works in other cities, and there's no reason it can't work here. We are talking about this video coming out of Memphis, 5 police officers who've been charged, some of whom have been charged with murder in the case of Tyree Nichols. And I'm wondering, is this something that you need to see, or well, let's talk about it. We have Earl from Hyde Park. Hey, Earl, what's on your mind?
Hi, Pat. Thanks for taking my call. And I was looking at it on the TV station, and so I saw the first video was incomplete. So the first video just showed an officer pulling up to the scene after they had already corralled the dude to pull him out of the car. And from there, you understand what happened. From there, they put him on the ground, and he was trying to find out what was going on, and they didn't give him any reason for pulling him over. And they tased one another, and they also sprayed one another. And in that process, he was able to get up because they didn't restrain his hands or arms and run away. And when you run away, Patty, that's it. I mean, all unfortunately, everything goes out the window. You got to get the beat down now.
Well, and this is
they go
right. And this is like what Willie Wilson, Dave just texted. Funny you should mention that Willie Wilson said, "Hunt them down like a rabbit." After they put a beat on this young man, they dragged him and propped him up against a car door and kept circling him, standing all around him, looking like wolves or hyenas waiting for their quarry to get up and make a move again, and they could start all over. It looks like they lost
That's exactly what it looked like.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it looked like.
It says those cops look like they lost their touch with humanity. Wow.
Well, I'm gonna say no. They didn't lose their sense of humanity. I'm gonna say they don't have a sense of humanity. And what I mean by that is, officers go through a training program to be cadets. Okay, but you get trained again once you hit the field by your officers. They're the ones that teach you how to navigate the street, how to navigate with people you pull over, how to deal with people you pull over. That's where I'm guessing the indoctrination process of this an attitude that now I'm the man, I got the authority, I command the authority, and whatever I tell you to do, you have to completely obey. And anything less than that, you are risking getting the beat down. And once I saw the young man get up and run away, I said, it's just like you said, a pack of wolves. Pack of wolves will chase a prey until they come to a rest. And they will circle that prey, kind of looking kind of confused because their training is to take down running prey. And so when they come up with this dude, we don't see that. We don't.
Oh no! We lost him. Call back. Oh no! I'm so sorry. Call back. I don't know how that happened. Did I do that? I don't think so. Does this keyboard control the phones too? I don't think so. Let me see. No, it wasn't that. We lost you. Give us a call back. Eduardo?
I'm here.
Hey, Eduardo, what's on your mind?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you lost Earl because
yeah,
it took me more time. But I live in a police, fire, city worker neighborhood. I think you do too.
Mm-hmm.
And another time we'll need to talk and compare notes about our neighborhoods, about how we interact with these people. But I saw some of the video, and obviously the people, and this happened with the George Floyd too. It's disappointing you see police standing around and not really like restraining this person. It's not just regular people who are under stress. Everybody's under stress. In the computer age of internet, social media, we're all under stress. The COVID lockdown produced a lot more stress in people. And we really need to like talk to one another more. And I'm not talking about sending text messages in person more. I go to networking. I just went to a networking event Wednesday. And I don't have like 100 phone numbers. Maybe I know like 10 people. So I make it out of my way to go out and talk to people. And this is what needs to happen. You need to talk to your neighbor. It could be a police officer or a city worker, whatever. Doesn't matter what race they are. Everybody needs to talk to each other. We need to have an open line of communication, and this is how we're able to solve each other's problems.
Yeah, I agree. I think that de-escalating definitely needs to be everyone can't present as a threat directly. I haven't seen this video, but it's kind of crazy. And I appreciate your call, Eduardo. We do have to compare notes sometime.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good week.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eduardo. Earl, go ahead. I'm so sorry. I don't know how I lost you there, but I'm pretty sure it was my fault. Continue your thought, Earl.
Okay, no, it's not a problem. So basically what I was saying was the young man was cornered, and we don't see them originally catching him.
Okay.
What we see is on the second video, we see them already having him surrounded, and the police officers are beating and kicking and talking to them, but we can't hear what they're saying on the second video. But by that time, they had beat him so horribly that he was like a sack of potatoes when they threw him in the backseat of a patrol car. And the main point of the reason why I wanted to discuss with you and your audience is that the training that we get, the officers get on the street, is where we really need to concentrate that mental attitude from being transmitted from one generation to the next generation in police officers, because they learn that this is okay.
Yeah.
They learn that they can escalate without any repercussions per se. And if anything, I hope your listening audience will learn from what I'm trying to say is that we need to concentrate on breaking that chain of the bad police officers, giving the new police officers the wrong kind of training and how to deal with the public on the street.
Yep.
So I don't know if you have anybody else in line, but who wants to weigh in on this subject. But the police officers are at that point, and then I'm going to go with this one last point. The gentleman before me said that we need to learn how to communicate. When they start beating on the guy the first time, no communication was going to work.
Right.
Because they had already gone into mode. They were already jacked up. They were already hyped up on adrenaline. And when he ran and got away, that just escalated beyond, what you would say, being able to talk down the situation, cool off the situation. You needed to have somebody come in and physically intercede with those police officers, because talking down at that point was not going to happen because they were already jacked up on adrenaline.
Yep, absolutely true. Thank you, Earl. Thank you so much. Let me take one last quick phone call because Debbie wants to end on a happy note. What's up, Debbie?
Hi, Patty. Yes, and I just wanted to try and end this on a pleasant note for the weekend for you. You were so good yesterday. You were just terrific, and that the whole forum was just wonderful. We all learned so much from it, and we appreciate it. We appreciate all you do, and I just wanted to thank you. And you know, these things in life are horrible, and we know we have our struggles and our challenges. But you know, the better we can do next time, the better life will be.
That's right.
You know, violence begets violence. That's the way it always is.
Well, I appreciate ending on this note, Debbie. It was great to hear from you and great to see you yesterday. I've got to run. Have a great weekend, my friend.
Thank you. I'll see you Sunday night. Bye.
Excellent. I'll be at the Laugh Factory Sunday night. Thank you for reminding me, Debbie, at 7 o'clock show. And also, I'll be at the Copernicus Center for the Jefferson Park Sunday Market from 10 to 2. Devil's Advocate's up next. That's on Sunday at 10 to 2, by the way. Devil's Advocate next. Thank you, Lady B. Have a great weekend.
Out Chicago.
Here we are beginning our 10th
year. It's amazing. So thank you out there for listening.
Thank you, listeners. I've got